Feeling see Joe on the channel here over on Subscribe. So Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, yes, but I'm going to tie this into a lot of the fruit of the poison tree of Marxism and how people get to the point where they sincerely believe in this concept of my truth. And I'll use like the pronouns and the boys competing in girls sports as an example to see like how far away we get from reality. So what happened? Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, two actors, had a case settled. She made some defamatory statements and he got a judgment against her. Now she has a toxic label attached to her. It's like, it, isn't it true? This was all you're doing all along. For some reason, you felt the need to do an interview and defame this guy. Like you're vaguely talking about abusers, but the person you were in a relationship with was Johnny Depp. So a reasonable person would conclude that you were making defamatory statements of fact, injurious to his reputation. It's like sufficient such that you literally got a judgment against yourself for defaming this guy, who I'm sure has got his own issues too. Like it's possible that both people in this situation are a-holes. As you know, like for some reason, the kids today just don't understand that there are complex heroes in all regards, themselves included. But they're so eager to cancel people. It's like, that's a purity spiral that you will never escape unless you just burn the whole thing down right now and like leave this concept of this Marxist purity spiral. It's like, buddy, we're going to take it all the way to the grave. I know. History repeats. It's fascinating. So she's a toxic person now because now to think like, hey, it's like the goal of making movies is to sell this fantasy land. And there are some actors who don't understand that. And there's some actors who very much do understand that and they stay off of social media or they're very, very careful on social media. And other people use it as their pundits, their pupils, their what's the thing at the center of the church, that the wooden whatever. They're ranting and raving about it. And you're like, your goal is to sell movie tickets, and people don't understand that. Or I saw it in Comics Gate with these like in quotes professional comics people. Like your goal is to sell Image, Dark Horse, Boom, Marvel, DC. You're selling product, so you really want to be the Michael Jordan method of, hey, Republicans buy basketball shoes also. It's to sell it to as many people as possible. And they're like, buddy, we'd rather burn the industry to the ground than sell to someone who's to the right of Mao or Stalin or all these other, you're like, yeah, I believe you. I believe you. And, it's not your fault. It's like, you're just a brainwashed, useful idiot, but it's the people who hired you. And you saw it in comics and you're seeing it in movies now. Like the implosion of Hollywood is fascinating to watch. And that's not hyperbole anymore. If I said that 3 years ago, you'd be like, oh, you're just some right winger who wants to laugh, like dunk on Hollywood. The movies are still going to be fine. They're going to kind of turn us around. Okay, so 3 years later, look around Hollywood, you're like, shit. Those Hugo Boss people might have a point about Hollywood. So what happened? Amber Heard is now a toxic person, a problem person who has been brainwashed by feminism, which is, oh my God, like how many examples of cringy feminism do you have to have before you kind of wake up and go, maybe we're on the wrong track. Maybe everything that government schools and globalist media propaganda has brainwashed us into believing is not true. It's like, yeah, maybe you should go back to your roots, your family, your core, whatever. But those are nationalist values. I'm just saying, it's like, what would life be like if you could wash off the political correctness and start looking at the world? Well, you'd probably come to the right a little bit. Anyway, so how does she and others get here into this believing this like feminist Mary Sue levels of nonsense, like this just bizarro fantasy world that they've built up for themselves? They keep going further and further out on the thin ice of opinions, leaving facts behind. This is all kind of feminine energy. It's this emperor has no robe vibe that we're seeing today, where if you feel something, then it becomes your truth, except it's not actually the objective truth. And the further you get from the objective truth, the more out of stability things get. This kind of stuff's been happening a lot lately. It's this slow cultural Marxist technique where they convince kids to move away from facts and evidence into feelings and opinions. And this is all done by design. It's generational brainwashing. It started kind of post-war in the government schools and the media. And the problem is black and white pills is at the school level, there's no solution because the schools are completely taken over by literal brainwashed Bolsheviks. The libs of TikTok and the Wu flu has shown people what is going on in the schools, and it's like it's just accelerating with the guys dancing around with kids, and I mean Sodom and Gomorrah level, like literally crack open the Old Testament, start reading about that. Like it's all wow, 4,000 years ago these dudes were talking about this. Weird. It just, I mean, you read that stuff and it's like, it connects with you on a deeper level because, it's a couple thousand years old. It's like, it's just happened before. Is there some spiritual connection or is it just human history? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But you can look around at the stuff that's going on today and you go like, oh, at this point, it's probably better to separate from these people because I don't feel there's a satisfaction and accord to be had with people who are doing to their kids what these people are doing. No, I don't think there's a meeting in the middle for a lot of this. Like even to the point of like, you can have a physically separate. Hey man, countries don't last forever. To keep it 100 with you. So honestly, I feel like one of those crazy old coots living out in the woods who turned a room into a Faraday cage, ranting about the derp state, the globalist cultural Marxism. Then 10 years later, people started to awaken and realize, they might have been half crazy, but some of the things they were saying, maybe we should have at least investigated. And no, not on Google search results and not on Wikipedia and not even on the first page of the search results because like, oh, who's these search results? So who's returning these search results? It's amazingly powerful when you control the narrative. So the solution is small private schools, taxpayer-funded government schools have been the method to hand your kids over to the government brainwashers for the past 70, 80 years. As Malcolm X said, it's insane to let the enemy educate your kid. So when I was in school, we learned the scientific method and the legal method, how to analyze reality. We learned how to think, not what to think. We were crystal clear on the differences between feelings and facts. And kids today are literally taught that facts and logic are offensive, and somehow offending people with facts is wrong thinking. It'll get you in trouble at school. That's all cultural Bolshevism. To get kids to accept absurd nonsense in the name of political correctness, like there's no solution within the schools. Homeschooling, but it's like it's just as easy to teach a half dozen kids or a dozen kids to convert a garage in your neighborhood than to teach your own kids. And it's like economy of scale. It's like people could just simply pay you. It's like, no, it's to teach a bunch of kids is not the end of it's not the hardest thing. It's like, I'm sure you could probably set up a pretty good small business doing it. So if you speak up, the other brainwashed kids will pressure you to get back on the good thing. There's no solution in woke schools. Small-based private schools are the path forward. Go back to teaching kids to question everything, to ask who benefits, to follow the money, to always verify, to apply logic and wash away bias. There is none of that in schools today. Kids are taught to accept the teacher's Bolshevik nonsense without question because it's their truth, and to not accept it is not politically correct. So the longer this goes on, the more out of balance the system goes. To suddenly stand up and say, what's that, Rosie Dawson? They recreated that Norman Rockwell photograph, and that was on Twitter, and people just ripped it to shreds because they missed everything that was poignant about the original art piece. To suddenly stand up and say all this cultural Marxism isn't supported by evidence, that boys aren't girls, that pronouns are sex-based. In fact, gender, if sex is a binary, and it is, and gender is derived from sex, then that's a binary also. All this stuff is simply a lie, that you disagree with their opinions and won't continue to support their illusions because it's compelled speech to tell a lie. That'll get you ostracized at school. No teacher, I'm not going to use your preferred pronouns. I'm going to use the biologically correct pronouns because if I use your pronouns, I would be lying, and you're compelling me to speak a lie. That's not a good path to go down. And I'm going to refuse to do that. So you're at an impasse, a binary. They want compelled speech. And the thing is, this is on them. They started this. So, I mean, imagine you're in a class and like some of the kids in the class are using the biologically correct pronouns and they refuse to be swayed. It's like, well, that's a hostile environment, but it's a hostile environment that the teacher created because the teacher is asking them to lie, to compelled speech, to say something that is not objectively true in accord with reality. And if enough students stood up for it and said, we're not going to do this. It's like, well, how's the teacher going to teach them? It's like, you just can't go forward. I mean, this is like, you're at an impasse with people's pronouns. It's like, you will do what social pressure tells you to. If you're in a workplace environment, you'll do whatever the they tell you to do for sure. But like, if you don't stand up to this and start talking about this, it's just going to continue to get more and more absurd because everything's an appeal to emotion. And I know it seems like a stretch to tie Amber Heard, who she was in, I don't know, Aquaman or something. It's like, everything is just crap now. It's I will say is like a couple years ago, there was still a little bit of excitement for superhero movies in general, or movies in general. That is all gone now. Even people on the left, if you're on Twitter, the energy for movies is just bizarrely gone. Like someone said, they turned Disney into a TV show that nobody watches, and you go, "Oh my God, how did you take Disney? We should have been just printing money as fast as you could, and you turned it into shows that nobody have heard. Oh, Mandalorian. Oh, okay, we'll get on board with this. Oh, you fired Gina Carano. Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I didn't even know who Gina Carano was. I still don't know who Gina Carano is. I don't give a two things about her. But I saw why you fired her. It's like, oh, that's not fireworthy material. Why this is Disney's a horrible, horrible company, and it's like a childish company. It's just an immature company. To see like the response, it's like 25-year-old like cat ladies who never like they just deep in this echo chamber. It's like, all Gina Carano's statements are still up. We can go and read the things she said, and then you're saying she said something she didn't say. It's like, anyway, no, it's none of this is headed to a good place. So I think this, even the Amber Heard stuff all ties in, because with political correctness you can't offer a counter opinion, so you end up where we are now with boys in track and field against events competing against girls, and nobody can say anything because social media will just get people fired and destroy their lives. The girls themselves, like the high school and college girls, can speak up against it, but even then, if they like get media attention, it's like their names are going to be attached to this thing, and it's not politically correct. And their parents definitely can't say anything about it because they will just both get fired, or the like contracts just won't be renewed. And you're like, there's like, that's life in commercial America. It's not a nation anymore. A nation is something else. This is a commercial entity where there are other forces at play in a commercial state. Which is the thing is, all this is kind of fine with me. I'm on Team Accelerate. Get rid of the sexual divisions in sports. Just make one team. All humans are fungible, right? Have all humans compete, because it will prove the point that the teams will be all male. Yes, there is sexual dimorphism or a sexual binary. To even discuss this will make mentally unstable people literally want to delete you from this mortal coil. That's how out of balance and brainwashed the society is. If you merely disagree with somebody's fantasy world, they will want to hurt you, because that's how deep their religion of Bolshevism is. These kids grow up in an echo chamber, and when they start getting exposed to different opinions, the participation trophy generation, that's actually like a lot of kids under 40. That's how long this stuff has been. Even on the West Coast, it's more like under 45. That's how long, in some areas like the Bay Area, parts of LA, that's how long this stuff has been going on. I mean, this is deeply, deeply ingrained in America. That's why I say it's like things are further along than people think, because it's the momentum and inertia that took to get here. It's changing course on a ship, on a very large ship. It happens by inches, and it's much more massive than people think. Anyway, so to be a true liberal and a scientist, to view the world through the lens of logic and reason, even temper with compassion, is to signal to the brainwash that you are a far-right Hugo Boss. That's the narrative now. If you're pro free speech and you're against child grooming, those are far-right values, which is good. Is good for anyone right of center, because then it lumps anyone. And hey, listen, if you're moderate right of center, the left wing wins because the left wing doesn't disavow the far left. The right wing will lose and continue to lose because they keep disavowing what the left frames as the far right. Every time you say, "Oh, the Dems are the real istophobes," you got to stop saying that. You got to even stop using those words, because you're accepting their lexicon, you're conceding battlefield ground to them, to let them to define terms and phrases. You just don't even have to discuss those words. You say, "Oh, we don't believe in those terms. Those are just manipulative control terms used by Bolsheviks to compel behavior. They're not real organic terms." "Oh, but we feel they are." But we feel they're not. I mean, if we're going to appeal to emotion, and both sides can appeal to emotion. It's like the right of center just wants to continue to lose. The only people who want to win are the far left and the far right, and the mainstream right of center will just continue to lose and lose and lose because they're not. You're not. Do you conservatives? What are you conserved? Tucker Carlson talking about how he loves everyone should get married. That question. It's like, so you're further to the left than Obama and Hillary were like 10 years ago. That's right. We're conserving nothing. You're conserving nothing. You're just going left. Anyway, the thing is, to even ask questions now means that you are far right. To ask for facts and due process is a signal that you're not one of them. You end up with Amber Heard, who has to talk about her truth because they live in a world of feelings and never having been challenged. I mean, you see it with interviews now, like, well, literally every interview. One that comes to the mind would be the Jussie Smollett interview, where the woman who's interviewing him, you read the thought bubble above her head, and she wasn't buying any of it. And Jussie Smollett is just crying and getting emotional, and the camera goes back to her face, and you're looking at her face like, we all know, dude. You're waiting for the reporter to push back a little bit. It's like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The mainstream media is not the media. The media is not the media. The media hasn't been the media in 40 years, at least. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next episode.